Good afternoon. Welcome to our most recent webinar. It's the Apex Systems ERP Essentials webinar series, and we're going to be talking today about the Secure Act 2.0 highlights. Our presenter today is going to be Terry Rex. Just a little bit about Apex Systems. Apex Systems is a leading global technology services business that incorporates industry insights and experience to deliver solutions that fulfill our clients' digital visions. Our Infor experts not only ensure seamless implementations, but also provide ongoing optimizations to enhance your business operations. Apex has a global presence in over 70 locations across the US, Canada, Mexico, UK, Europe, and India. So today's presenter is Terry Rex. I'll go ahead and go on mute, and I'll let her introduce herself and do her presentation. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Hello, everybody. Hope you're all having a good day. My name is Terry Rex, and I've been with Apex now for 10 years. Previously, I was an Infor Lawson consultant since way back 6.2 version, so I don't want to talk about age because that's kind of depressing. But yes, I have been around the system for quite a while, and I like the system. I wouldn't have been around it if I didn't. And I primarily focus in the payroll arena. Okay, so today we're going to talk about the Secure Act 2.0, which has come up. And Infor has brought some changes to the system for the S3 Lawson folks so that we can deal with this new act that's coming up. So we'll have an overview of Secure Act 2.0. We'll go through some configurations, the new program and fields that are now in the system, along with the payroll process flow and some common mistakes that you may come across. Okay, so first of all, we're going to look at the Secure 2.0 Act. The key objectives of the Secure 2.0 is to expand access to the 401k plans and to increase the saving opportunities for employees and to provide some financial incentives while eliminating some common obstacles and penalties that have come up in the past. So it's just trying to make it more inclusive for retirement. Oops, there we go. And so some of the things that we'll look into are the expanded eligibility. Long-term part-time employees with at least 2 years of service, 500 hours worked, will be allowed to participate in company retirement plans. Also, there's an element of automatic enrollment. Once the employees are enrolled, by default, they get a minimum of 3% contribution rate, which can increase 1% up until the limit. But it does give the employee the chance to change what they want or if they want to opt out. And also there's enhanced catch-up contributions determined by age. The employees now age 60 to 63 can contribute more for the catch-up amount to their retirement plans. And the other piece is the Roth catch-up requirement. For high earners, if they're aged over 50, they have the ability, they will have catch-up contributions that need to be made to Roth plans instead of the pre-tax. Okay. So additional retirement savings is allowed for the individuals age 50 and older beyond standard limits. That's what our catch-up contributions are. The Secure Act 2.0, there's new rules in income-based requirements starting January 1st of 2026. The contribution limits by age. Employees aged 50 to 59 and 64 and over get the common $7,500 catch-up, whereas ages 60 to 63 will get $11,250. And in Infor documentation and in their webinars, they do refer to this group, the 60 to 63 group, as the super catch-up. So we'll have to create new employee groups for our BSI limits and possibly for our plans. And then the Roth account requirement, the $145,000 in FICA wages would refers to the previous year, and those people, their catch-up contributions would go to a Roth account rather than the pre-tax. And here's a slide. This is a good slide, a good one to refer back to as far as contribution limits and what our group should be. So as you can see, the age 50 and under is the same. 50 to 59, that's pretty much the same too. It's this 60 to 63 group, the super catch-up group. They have an additional catch-up amount, and their total contribution would be $34,750. And then folks over 64 or 63 will go back to the normal max contribution and total contribution amounts. In here we have eligibility decision tree. This is sort of how the system or how you should look at how these people would work in a system. First of all, the decision tree starts checking if an employee earned their $145,000 or more in the prior year. And keep in mind that if you have new hires that in year 2026, if you have new hires, if the employee made more than $140,000 at another institution, that it's up to them to let you know. You as a employer, you don't have to go running around chasing them for that information. They should be telling you. And then the Roth catch-up contributions. So if they make that income threshold, their after-tax Roth goes to catch-up, and regardless of their age. And then the traditional contributions option, that's everybody under 145,000. That all stays the same. And then our other tenants here is in HR and payroll for implementing. We have to flag our eligible employees, and the payroll must apply correct deduction codes to ensure that we're under compliance. Okay, so these are some configurations that we would use in the S3 Lawson system. The HR11 now has two additional fields. It's a wage limit check and a catch-up eligibility field that you can flag for employees. There is also a new batch update, the HR 115, and this is for updating a lot of employees, several employees with those flags. It just helps to streamline the whole process when you have large groups and a lot of employees. The other change is in the BN12. The BN12 used to be just a couple of limits, and now we have additional fields for all those limits and the super catch-up amounts. And then we'll also configure our HR00 to enable our link deductions and use our deductions to create and prioritize the deduction codes that we're going to use for our plans. Okay, so we'll look at the new fields here in HR11. They do end up on the benefit flag tab. The wage limit, this is where you would flag it yes if they did reach that $145,000 of Secure Act 2.0, and no if they did not. And then we also have our catch-up eligibility flag at the bottom there too, with three selections. 0 or blank is for employees that are 49 and below. So they're not enrolling in any catch-up. They're not in any special group. So the number 1 flag there for employees age 50 to 59 and the employees 64 and above, they will have their own flag. And then number 2, for our employees that are age 60 to 63, the super catch-up group, you can flag them there on the HR 11. Okay. And since we have those flags, there's new fields now in HR 55 so that we can create our employee groups for our BSI group codes. There's the wage limit and the catch-up eligibility. So we can go in and create those groups easily with those 2 flags. Here's the new program, the HR 115. It looks like normal Lawson flags, except down towards the bottom. What we're looking at is reference year. There's a wage threshold because those can change from year to year, and an age reference date. And then there's also processing options that we have. And if we're going to update it in report or just update the employee. So let's take a look at these fields, specifically the reference year. Whoops, I'm sorry, I hit the wrong thing. The reference year, you can type the year that's going to serve as your reference point for extracting the FICA wages. So it could possibly be, if you did it next year, it'd be 2025 is what you would use. You want to know that. The age reference date, the system uses that birth date from HR 11 to update that or to look at that. And then most importantly, these processing options, you do have some flexibility. If you select 1, it's going to update both of those flags in the HR 11. If you select 2, it's only going to update the catch-up. And if you select 3, it will only update the wage limit. And if you select 4, you can reset back to default, which is 0, and then redo whatever you need to process. So it's pretty flexible and works for testing and other items. And then we also have the update or report flag down at the bottom. Okay. And we also have in our HR 10, our data item attributes. Who's going to have access to this? How is this going to be changed? It's partly for security and partly just to know how we're going to maintain this field in our system. Okay. And then here's our BN12 with their new fields. So as you can see up in the top, they've suggested 2026. Here are the amounts. We always have our compensation, and these are the maximum annual additions, 1, 2, and 3 for the different groups. And then down below here is the annual catch-up contribution limits for the different groups also. So that's a difference to the BN12. You need to always set up your BN12 so the system knows what limits to work at. And we can take a look at what is going on with this BN12. So the maximum annual additions 1 field, that has your employees aged 49 and below. This is the default annual limit for everybody. And the annual additions number 2 is the type of the maximum annual additions limit for employees 50 to 59 and then 64 and up. So these, and then the third one is that super catch-up group. 60 to 63. And then down below, the Secure Act with catch-up. That's for our employees, 50 to 59, 64 and up. And the Secure Act with the super catch-up type, we put in the maximum catch-up for the employees age 60 to 63. And then if you have IRA, they also have fields for your IRA if you have that in your benefit plan. Next thing we'll look at is payroll processing flow. So we need to check if the employee has reached their limit of $23,500. And usually that's done through that BSI group code, which is on the HR 11. We can also determine the catch-up eligibility based on age and wage, and that would be our HR 115 can help us with that. And the FICA wages equal to or greater than $145,000, we can apply the Roth catch-up deductions. That also can be discovered with the HR 115. And then we can validate our HR 11 flags for the wage limit and eligibility. Just kind of double check, make sure they are correct. And then always know that if there are corrections to be made or we need to change something, we can, if we're in the middle of processing, we can always rerun our PR 140 for those affected employees. Okay. And then our last slide here talks about some mistakes and warnings that we could possibly run into. A mismatch between the employee's age and catch-up eligibility code. That could happen. Also, your catch-up contributions exceeding the IRS limits of $7,500 or $11,250. Missing a birth date in the global HR interface, that LT 111, could default to incorrect eligibility also. And incorrect deduction priority, the Roth should have a lower priority. And link deductions, we need to have that link deduction set up with our pre-tax so that the system knows to, once that pre-tax has gotten to the limit, it needs to move on to the Roth deduction for a different limit. And then employees that are not enrolled in your catch-up plans at the start of the year, that could happen too. So this is all I have for you today.